Attention passionate Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the AFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Pittsburgh Steelers' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Pittsburgh Steelers fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your friends and Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Let's get to the news now. Fans, buckle up because what I'm about to tell you could be one of the most significant shifts in the AFC North this season. The rumors swirling around the league are pointing to a blockbuster trade that would see the Denver Broncos, currently sitting at 5-5, make a bold move to revamp their secondary, and at the same time, give the Steelers a massive boost on defense. This isn't just speculation. Sources suggest that the Broncos are in serious discussions to send Pat Certain II to Pittsburgh in exchange for a couple of draft picks, including a second-rounder in 2026 and a fourth-rounder in 2027. The Broncos are prioritizing draft capital to rebuild their offense, especially with the recent signing of Nix to a hefty extension that hits their cap for around $180 million. They're focusing heavily on the front seven, especially pressuring the quarterback, which makes sense given their 28% pressure rate this season. But what this means for the Steelers, especially their secondary, could be nothing short of transformative. Let's break down what a player like Certain II would bring to the Steelers. For starters, he's a shutdown corner, an all-pro caliber player who in 2023 has been a key piece in the Broncos' defense. His profile is exactly what Pittsburgh needs to elevate their pass defense, which has been a bit shaky at times this season, particularly with the injury to Darius Slay, who's been out for 2 games due to concussion issues. We've seen how a top-tier CB like Certain can completely change the dynamic of a secondary. He's currently allowing just 0.8 yards per route covered, and his career numbers include 18 interceptions and over 280 tackles, which shows he's not just a cover guy but a playmaker who can also contribute against the run. In terms of stats, Certain's 2025 profile includes 8 games played, 21 solo tackles, 6 assists, and 27 combined tackles with minimal injuries. He's been remarkably durable. His coverage metrics are outstanding, with an allowed completion percentage of just 50% and an EPA per target of -0.35, which indicates he's consistently preventing big plays. His man coverage rate is at an elite 85%, and yards per separation allowed sits at just 0.6, making him a nightmare for opposing receivers. Imagine him lining up against the Bengals' top receivers or even helping contain the likes of Jamar Chase. That's a game changer. When you look at how he's been utilized this season, he's a player who can lock down the opposition's top target, freeing up the pass rush and making life miserable for quarterbacks. Now, why would the Broncos do this? Well, aside from their focus on building a more pressure-oriented defense with a 28% pressure rate, they're also clearing cap space, about $20 million, to extend Nix, who's been a key part of their interior line. With the NFL's increasing emphasis on protecting the quarterback and forcing turnovers, getting draft capital and shedding some cap hits makes sense for a team that's still in the rebuilding phase. A trade for Certain would also allow the Broncos to focus more on their front seven, where they need to generate more pressure and create more turnovers, which has been a challenge this season. For the Steelers, acquiring Certain would be nothing short of a game changer. Think about it. Adding him to a secondary that's already featuring some promising players like Levi Wallace and Minkah Fitzpatrick, but lacking that elite shutdown corner, could elevate their entire defense. The stats project that with Certain, the Steelers could see an increase of around 4 interceptions this season alone. That's not just a number. That's a difference maker in close games, turning potential losses into wins, especially in the tight AFC North battles. His presence would cut down opposing teams' passing yards, projected to drop from around 7.2 yards per pass attempt to about 5.5 yards, making it much tougher for offenses to move the ball through the air. And with a boost of around 16% in pass defense efficiency, the Steelers could become one of the league's most formidable units. Adding a player like Certain would also have ripple effects across the defense. With him locking down one side of the field, the pass rush would get more room to work, especially for guys like T.J. Watt, who's been knocking on the door with 9.5 sacks so far. Watt's pressure rate and ability to get to the quarterback could be unleashed even more, knowing the coverage behind him is top-notch. The Steelers' defense, which has sometimes been reactive, could turn into a more aggressive playmaking unit that forces turnovers and sets up the offense with better field position. Their ability to cut big plays allowed from 15 per game down to around 8 would be a huge step forward. That reduction in explosive plays is critical, especially in the AFC North, where every yard counts in those heated divisional matchups. And what about the impact on playoff chances? Well, betting odds have already shifted in favor of the Steelers if they land certain, moving from +2,500 to as low as +850 for Super Bowl odds. That's a massive jump, reflecting how much a player of Certain's caliber could elevate their chances of making a deep playoff run, especially considering the potential to be a true X-factor in matchups against the Bengals, Ravens, or even the Chiefs. In particular, Certain's ability to blanket top receivers like Jamar Chase, who he's expected to match up with in key divisional games, would be a huge boost to Pittsburgh's defense. His coverage grade of 91 on the season indicates he's already operating at an elite level, and with him in the fold, the Steelers' secondary could look like a top-5 unit in the league. From a historical perspective, Pittsburgh has always valued strong defensive backfields, and adding a player like Certain would be a return to that tradition. It's reminiscent of the days when the Steelers' secondary was the envy of the league. Think Polamalu, McFadden, and Ike Taylor. The current Steelers' defense, which has been solid but occasionally inconsistent, could find that extra gear with Certain anchoring their coverage. Plus, with Mike Tomlin's defensive schemes and the talent already present, integrating Certain would be seamless. His ability to play man coverage at such a high level would allow coordinator Terrell Austin to dial up more aggressive blitz packages, knowing the back end is locked down. Now, let's talk about the broader AFC North landscape. The division has been fiercely competitive this year, with the Ravens, Browns, and Bengals all fighting tooth and nail. Adding an elite corner like Certain would tilt the scales even further in Pittsburgh's favor. It's not just about stopping the pass. It's about dictating to the entire offense that they're not going to get many free yards through the air. This could force opposing quarterbacks to take more risks, which plays right into Pittsburgh's hands with Watt and others ready to capitalize on mistakes. The AFC North has become a grind, with every game decided by small margins, and a player like Certain could be the difference between a good season and a playoff run. Of course, such a trade would come with its challenges. The Steelers would need to work out the cap implications and ensure that they're not sacrificing too much in other areas. But considering their need for an elite coverage corner, and the fact that Certain is only 25 years old, still entering his prime, the potential payoff could be enormous. It's a move that signals that the Steelers are serious about not just competing but dominating in the postseason. With a secondary fortified by Certain, the Steelers could become a team that's feared across the league, capable of shutting down the top offenses and forcing turnovers at critical moments. In conclusion, this rumored trade isn't just about swapping players or draft picks. It's about shifting the entire landscape of the AFC North. The Steelers, with a secondary now anchored by Pat Certain II, could elevate their defense into one of the league's best, dramatically increasing their chances of making a deep playoff run and ultimately chasing that elusive Super Bowl trophy. It's a bold move, yes, but one that could define the franchise's trajectory for years to come. The Steelers have always been about resilience, grit, and smart strategic moves. This potential acquisition fits perfectly into that mold. Fans, keep your eyes peeled because if this happens, it'll be a game changer not just for the Steelers, but for the entire AFC. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Pittsburgh Steelers news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick, and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. And now, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this potential move? Do you believe Certain II can be the missing piece that pushes Pittsburgh over the top? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Steelers. This is exactly the kind of bold move that can define a franchise's season and future. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Steelers news. Whether it's roster changes, game analysis, or playoff predictions, I've got you covered. Keep that Steelers pride alive, stay passionate, and let's keep pushing toward another Super Bowl victory. Here's to the black and gold, and to a brighter, more dominant future on the horizon.